Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Beastly Eo. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Daredevil. So this episode was kind of divided up into two parts, the good and the bad, where it was kind of flashbacky, but also kind of what was going on in the present as well. So we'll start off with Daredevil and Bullseye, and then move on over to Vanessa, Fisk, and Buck. So it starts off with basically just Daredevil and is trying to get Bullseye out of there. He's trying to find a safe place for him to go, and they're trying to figure out where they can go. So one of the big things that they do is they go to the church, because that to them is the closest situation that they can kind of figure out. The idea is the church is supposed to be a safe haven, and that they would be safe to be there. That's kind of the thought process that they both have. Well, not really both, but Daredevil has. The priest goes there and basically exclaims, like, you guys this will always be a safe haven, but just so you know, they're going to know where you guys are going to be. So there's obviously some concerns about that, and at one point Matt is going to leave him there. However, he decides against it and takes him over to his base, which is where Paige is. So my whole thing. Then we have the flashbacks. So the whole thing is kind of showing how Foggy was kind of the voice of reason that made Matt realize that there are good people and that you can save some people. Because at the time, Matt was very much I almost said a skeptic, actually, is what I wanted to say. And really was against kind of everything at this point. And I believe he's kind of thinking like the world was kind of just ruined around them. And this was before they started Nelson and Murdoch. Which I thought was interesting in and of itself. And they talked about the case that kind of got them to realize what they wanted to do. And it was a former friend of Foggy's brother, older brother, I believe, who's basically had a lot of problems in his life. And he wants nothing more than to help him. So at first they feel like they can't do anything. They want him to plead out. And he's like, no way in heck, if I go to jail, I'm going to die. And then they talk about going into, so then they start looking at the evidence and realize that the evidence that they have, or the police have, I should say, is inadmissible. That it's fruit from the poisonous tree, and because of that, they're able to stop what's going on so they can actually get stuff done. Meaning, excuse me, meaning that they have the ability to be able to show them that this is wrong and it needs to be resolved. Which was one of the big things that I thought was interesting in and of itself, but they move on and go through that. They decide to get him off, and then that was going to be the end of it. He was just going to have to be on the run. So the idea is Foggy goes and gives him the money that he and Matt had been saving up for their own practice, and tells him to just be free, get out of here, just start your life over, because I'd hate for you to die here. And so that's what he does. He just runs away. And Matt realizes what he was doing, and Foggy was at this point telling him that some people deserve a second chance. Like, not everyone has had a perfect life, and they need help, and we need to help them. We're not just here to help ourselves; we're here to help the entire city. And that's at that point where Matt obviously decides to help Bullseye and get him out of there. And that's kind of the Bullseye and Daredevil of it all. So then we have Fisk and Vanessa. Now this one, and Buck. So the whole idea is they're in the hospital, and our little friend, the Lieutenant Governor of Communications, tells BB what's going on in the hospital. She then leaks it to the news, and then everyone now knows that Vanessa's in critical condition, and she's at a specific hospital. So Buck goes and basically tells him, "You're coming with me," and he's like, "No, no, 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 no." And let's be honest, he goes anyway because he doesn't have a choice. So he has Buck has him drive him to Albany, and the whole time he's thinking that he's going to be killed. So what we find out during this, there's a flashback for this as well, is that when Wesley was in charge, or let me rephrase that, Fisk's number 2, back during the original series of Netflix, they had hired Buck to be a killer specifically for one of these guys who was against them, aka the guy that Matt and Foggy were representing. So they hire him to kill him. However, he's unsuccessful. The reason why he's unsuccessful has to do with the fact that Foggy was able to help him enough to get him out of there. Granted, they didn't know he was being completely hunted down and killed at that point. However, they knew he was in trouble, so they helped him out. Basically, this whole thing was to tell the Lieutenant Governor of Communications that I'm a loyal soldier and I do what I'm told. And that's what we need to do. We need to do what we're told. So they go to this lumber yard where he picks up this massive saw and a shovel, and they pull into this wooded area, and he's just like, man, the communications director, almost said executive director, that's not correct. Lieutenant Governor of Communications was basically like, we can't do this. Like, I don't want to die. You could just let me go. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, shovel or saw. And then he opens up the trunk to show a dead body. Now, we don't know who that dead body is at this point, but it'll be very curious to see who it is if we ever get to see it. And basically showing that this is the life that you're going to be living from now on. And that makes, obviously, him relax because he thought he was being considered a snake. Or a rat, I should say. And it was not true. Well, it was true, but he didn't realize that he didn't know what was going on, thankfully. So then we have Vanessa and Fisk. So Vanessa and Fisk are having a flashback to when they were together. And what's interesting is we get to see it from his perspective, which is the fact that he wanted an art piece, sees this woman in the art gallery, but doesn't go in yet. Wesley sets up a specific day and time and place for a private gallery where they can look at pieces and try to get things going. We also find out that Vanessa wanted the piece that he buys in the Netflix series to be the centerpiece of the gallery, and the owner was like, no, not going to happen. And so she does it anyway because she's Vanessa and she knows better, which I think is very interesting as well. And that all these pieces kind of came together that got her to meet Wilson Fisk. So she wakes up in the middle of all this. Surgery went well. Everyone's just pretty much, the surgeon basically says to Fisk that, hey, we have to be careful. Like, we still have to, although it looked like things went well, we're still on hopes and prayers right now. And Fisk was just like, no, it's fine. And he's all excited that she's alive and everything else. And then he begins to tell the story of how they met and how apparently he spent 3 times the asked listing price, and that he was an idiot for that. And he started laughing and everything else, to the point where she starts to ask him, she starts repeating herself, and then begins to have like some sort of, I don't want to say quite honestly a seizure, but she's having some sort of brain issue and everything else, where they have to come in and try to resuscitate her. However, it looks like this time she unfortunately passes. We don't 100% know that for a fact. However, I am 90% sure that this time she is dead. Because they had pulled everything out, they had gotten her the help that she needed, and it still didn't work. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But if she is dead, Fisk is going to go nutso and try to get rid of every vigilante permanently off the face of this earth. Or at least in New York for sure, and then work his way around, I guess you'd say. But very curious to see where the rest of this season is going to go, especially if they're going to kill Vanessa like that. And the reason why I'm thinking she's definitely dead this time is because they spent such an amount of time talking about her past before Fisk a little bit, that I can't imagine them not ending her at this point, because they gave us a lot just to get rid of her. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a stereotypical thing that a lot of shows do. But yeah, and this will also show why Fisk loses it. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But we also know in the next episode too, so we might maybe possibly see Claire, because Claire was mentioned, and my assumption is she's in a part of Matt's group, it looks like. And again, I'm going off of what he said in this episode, where he talks about how he has a nurse friend. Possibility. We'll have to wait and see to know for sure, but that'd be kind of cool to see her back. But we'll have to wait and see, because we really don't know what's going to happen. We know we're going to see the aftermath of like Bullseye getting healed, and we're also going to see the aftermath of what happens to Vanessa here. And if she does die, which, like I said, I'm pretty sure she does, we're going to see Fisk completely lose it and go after everybody. But we'll have to wait and see to know for sure. But for now, let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.